Well, hello everybody, welcome. It's me, John, aka Nolsey. There's been some discussion about the possible decline of Transformers, and I just wanted to wade in on my points um, about the state of affairs that's been going on. Now, obviously, it seems that certain YouTube accounts or certain places have been, sharing some points, and a lot of fans are very 50-50 whether they agree or disagree. Obviously, this is coming from. There has obviously been recently the news of a video game. It actually did receive a couple of toys. They did actually manage to get some toys out. And it's a video game called Transformers Reactivate or Reactivated or something like that. And that's finally been announced as cancelled, and that's where the conversation's starting to lead. I believe it was by a YouTube account called Clownfish or something. I don't know. That seems to have waded in on their points. Now I don't agree with the fact that it's a deadline. It certainly isn't a deadline. It's still popular. Yes, it is mainly collectors that buy into this thing. But I won't say we're the only ones that buy into it. Kids still enjoy it. It is still a toyland for kids just as well as collectors. I think the problem is that it's not the first time. It's certainly not the first time the Transformers line has had a decline in its history. It will happen with all lines. There's a lot of lines that have been on the go since the 80s that have come and gone, and there's still now and again they might make a little resurgence here and there. The only strong lines that are still very strong is obviously Transformers, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Masters of the Universe, He-Man stuff. Again, more collectors, but it's still relatively popular, and it is still going in some shape or form. G.I. Joe is another one that's still going as a toy line, and there is also certain other media as well coming out, like comic books. Not so much cartoons. I think it's been a while since there's been an animated series for G.I. Joe or Action Force here in the UK. But anyway, so getting on to the Transformers thing. So basically, long story short, to try and make this as quick as possible, basically, I don't, like I said, I don't agree with the fact that it's a deadline. I think there is a certain issue at the moment because Hasbro are in a bit of a problem. I think they've had to let some people go. Some people have either lost their job or they've had to kind of like let some people go. I've heard news of some people have been let go from certain parts when it comes to the toy lines and certain parts of Hasbro. Transformers 1 didn't do very well, but that's mostly down to the fact that it had literally next to nothing of advertisement. The advertisement side of things was abysmal. So if you're not gonna promote it, that's it, promotion. There we go. If you're not gonna promote the film well enough, then seriously, it's simply just going to it's just not gonna do what you want it. Transformers 1 for me personally, I thought was a great film. I thought it was a nice nod to the Transformers lore, even though it was changed somewhat. I really enjoyed that film, and it's a shame that it didn't get the bums on seats that it should have done when it came to the box office. I mean, I went to see it. I think I went to see it twice in all, and I do own it now as well. And I thought it was a really good piece of Transformers media. Now, going back to the 80s, look at Transformers the movie, the original movie from 1986. That film was seen as a flop at the time. It was a box office failure. It was one of those things where at the time it did not do well. Also, there was a whole controversy around Optimus Prime's death because he was one of the most popular characters in the series, which caused a lot of problems because they just saw a animated hero of theirs die on screen in such a brutal fashion, as well as the majority of the first wave of Transformers like Ironhide and Prowl and Brawn and so on. So yeah, it scarred a generation of kids, but yeah, it became a cult classic. It became a cult hit throughout the years. It became literally once it was released domestically, it became very popular over time, and 80s kids started to embrace it as years went by. 90s kids such as myself started to pick it up, and it just got very popular as a domestic release through many different releases over time. So, you know, it's the G1 movie has become a success now because it's become a cult hit. But at the time it failed. So Transformers 1 again is kind of one of those things where it's a film that didn't receive the audience. It didn't really receive the audience's blessing. But I don't think. I know I'm skipping on a lot of points that's been raised, but the point I'm trying to make is I don't believe that it's a deadline. I don't believe it's a deadline. The Transformers, the main toy lines are doing quite well. Again, yes, mostly collectors buying into it, but they're obviously producing a lot of very good figures at the moment within the main current lines. Like the Legacy line, I thought was actually quite good. You know, as somebody that's not a completist collector, I literally just pick and choose what certain characters I like and what I choose to buy into. But I've generally thought the Legacy line was relatively pretty good. And also the current line coming out right now is pretty good as well. And also the Masterpiece line's still going. Yeah, I don't agree with the fact it's a deadline. I don't think it's going to be one of those things where we're going to see Transformers finally cancelled completely. I don't think that's on the horizon. It's been going now for the 40 years, just over now, going into the 41 years. With 2025, so it's been going for a long time. It's been going strong. Like I said, there has been a point in time where there was literally very few bit of media. Because when I started picking up Transformers when I was a kid, because obviously I got into Transformers back when Robots in Disguise 2001 started airing, and also through Beast Wars. That's my point where I started to kind of look into the franchise. And then the Unicron trilogy started back in the early to mid 2000s time-ish. And that's what got me into Transformers in the first place. But but after the Unicron trilogy stuff, there was no cartoons until animated. There was nothing in that point where there was no animated series. It was just comic books through Dreamwave or what have you, different people. That's the only bit of media, and also some video games as well. There was some video games that came out, but that was pretty much it for media, across media. There was no animated series until animated. So basically after the Unicron trilogy, and then it was animated, and then the live action Transformers film 07 was in production, and that started to get a lot of buzz, and that actually kind of peaked. The Transformers line peaked because of the live action films, and then it slumped again after The Last Knight, and The Last Knight was seen as a massive flop. It was a disaster of a film. Hasbro, basically Paramount lost a Chinese investor through that, which is a big problem, and also the CEO had to step down and a new guy came in for Paramount. So it just goes to show just how much. So basically after The Last Knight, Michael Bay's last Transformers film, it has been steadily kind of like the popularity with the live action stuff's been kind of gradually kind of like up down since through Bumblebee and Rise of the Beasts and that. It's been like up and down, and then Transformers 1 not getting enough support, not getting promoted very well. That also caused a problem, because yes, they released a trailer, but there was no TV spots until way too late. Like literally the week of it coming out was when it started to hit the UK TV for TV spots. It's just one of them. They just didn't do the promotion side very well, and it just slipped under a lot of people's radar. I will just say that there is a slight decline, but I don't think it's anything to really worry about, you know, per se. I mean, the line's still strong. I don't think you can, because the thing is with how this all started with that game, the Reacted game being cancelled, it is a shame, of course, because a lot of people's hard work went into that game and it's not going to see fruition. But it's one of them things, is that you can't really piece it just on that, and you can't really piece it on Transformers 1 either, because like I just said, there was no promotion really for Transformers 1. It was practically kind of like as if they didn't want it to succeed, because like unlike the other stuff, like the live action stuff, that gets promoted really well. But when it came to Transformers 1, yes, they released trailers online, but when it came to like the trailers in the theatre or cinema, they only played the first trailer, which was full of the jokey stuff. They didn't play the more story-driven trailer. So that's probably part of the reason why people lost interest in it, because I just thought it was a wacky film, but there was more to it. But yeah, we've Reacted, the video game Reacted, it's one of them things, unfortunately. It's not going to see fruition. It's been cancelled. There's been literally no word whatsoever in regards to that game. You know, it's just been complete silence. And like, are we ever going to see this game or what? And we finally got the answer, we're not. So yeah, there is a slight decline at the moment, but I don't think it's going to be anything to really worry about at this moment in time. Yes, there's a problem with Hasbro, like behind the scenes, a lot of like shifting of people and unsurety, and also the fact that they're not going to fund, they stopped the funding, haven't they, with they're no longer going to co-fund the live action stuff anymore. They're going to just probably leave that up to either Paramount or whatever. So they finally cut the ties with the films because they're not performing as well as they would like. So there is a problem at the moment as well with, like I say, the comic book as well, the new comic book series. I have to mention that, the Skybound stuff, that's done very well, I think. A lot of people are raving about it. They think it's a really good continuity, and I've been reading it, I've been collecting that comic as well, and I'm really enjoying it. So I think there's still hope with the Transformers brand. Like I've said previously in this video, there has been a point where there was very lackluster amount of media about between the Unicron trilogy coming out and ending and animated. There was very little in between there, and then when the live action films started and Transformers Animated aired, that started to get a lot more buzz and it started to get a lot more interest. So it's one of them, isn't it? I don't think you have to really worry too much about things at the moment. I think it's okay. Hopefully something will rectify things and it'll be back on track, but who knows? All lines, when it comes to toys or when it comes to media, you're going to get these points where in time where they are going to start going down, and then all of a sudden something will happen and it'll galvanise it and make it stronger than ever, just like the live action films did for the line at one point. But anyway, there we go. Thank you, take care of yourselves, bye bye for now.